Okay, can we hear me now? I think the audio was bad a little bit. I think it's better now. So as I was saying, let's ensure to enroll into the private class where we walk you through all your courses without leaving any course untouched. How do you get to become a member? All you need to do is just reach out to us on our official website, which is www.tutorhire.net, and find the WhatsApp button on the top right corner. Use it to send a direct message. Okay, with this being said, let's hop straight into today's class. Just a moment, trying to set my material here very quickly. Okay. Now, when we talk of Marxism, what are we referring to? All right. We discussed a little bit about this in our last class, where we talked about what it means by Marxism. And in today's class, it's going to be a little bit of that. And we're going to be looking into some other things as well. Just trying to get my material set. Just a moment. So, according to the thumbnail, it says Marxist. Okay, it says neo-Marxist. Okay, new. All right, and we have that as Marxist. Now, when we talk of neo-Marxist, what are we referring to? I don't know why my material is refusing to respond. Let's give it a moment. Let's just here a moment, and it just went off of a sudden. Okay. Now, let's use the opportunity to remind us that next week will be all out on TMA submission, and we're having less classes, and it will be more of TMA submission. All right, we are looking out to attend to all TMA submission by next week. Okay, so I'm going to be doing something very different from the usual. All right, I'm going to be doing something very different from the usual, which is we are going to be hosting a live, all right, a live broadcast as the TMA submission is on. We are going to be hosting a live broadcast. What are we going to be doing in this live broadcast? We are going to be, all right, if you have any question pertaining to TMA, all right, there's a particular question you want to discuss about, all right, or you have any question you're having issues with, you can come to the live broadcast and we can talk about. All you need to just do is to paste the question, and you will be getting our response, you'll be getting our attention, and basically that's how it's going to be throughout next week. And to keep members of our private class occupied, all right, we encourage you to request the keynotes. So even though it's one, we'll give it to you at least so that you can get, all right, occupied And while the TME submission is going on, all right, would also be working on the exam practice questions and answer, okay, for the examination. So it's going to be a very busy and occupied week next week. All right, so the forthcoming week will be a very busy and occupied one. So the material is live now. We can get started now. All right, so let me just scroll to where I have my notes as we are about to get started. Wonderful. Okay, now without further ado, let's get straight into things. We are going to be talking about neo-Marxism. Okay, when we say neo-Marxism, what are we referring to? What are we simply talking about? Now, neo-Marxism is said to be a loose term, okay? A loose term for various 20th century approaches. Are we together? That amend or extend Marxism and Marxism, all right, theory. Now, I want us to note something here. Just a moment. It's said to be a loose term, okay? A loose term for various 20th century approaches. So all the approaches that came during or through the 21st, all right, during the 20th century that talks about Marxism, all right, or Marxist theory, we have neo-Marxist used to represent them. All right, so in a nutshell, we can say, just a moment. Okay, a loose term, that's double O, a loose term for various 20th century, all right, 20th, let's put this clearly here, 20th century, all right, a loose term used for various 20th century approaches, all right, 20th century approaches, all right, that talk, extend, or amend Marxism. Okay, now what are we simply talking about here in essence? We know what Marxism is. So the new part of neo-Marxist is simply talking about new. New, yes, means new. Okay, so we have that as that. So let's move straight ahead to the critics of Marxism. What do we have under the critics of Marxism? I think I need to adjust the camera a little bit so you can cover everywhere. I should shift it back, move it back a bit. Aha. Okay, so let's quickly consider some of the critics of Marxism. So, what are the critics of Marxism? Now, according to what we have here, the idea of Marx are scientifically doubtful. All right. So one of the critics is that Marxism is, so we have critics of Marxism. So we have scientifically So we have is what? Scientifically, all right, doubtful. He made predictions and yet cannot prove to be right or wrong. All right, his prediction, all right, everything could not be scientifically proven. So that was why I said scientifically, Marxism was not accurate. It was not on point. It's doubtful. Okay, that's one of the critics, and his idea have been polluted by political events. All right, polluted by political events. There are certain events that happen politically that defile the all right belief of Marxism. So we have that as that. Now let's take a step further. Now, given the limitations of Marxism, Lenin saw the implication of capitalism, all right, in the countries of the South, according to his book, Imperialism, which is the highest stage of capitalism. Now, this is Lenin saying something there that the limitation of Marxism, all right, he is now taking us towards imperialism, which is the highest level of capitalism. Lenin provided technical, let me zoom this right now, just a moment, trying to zoom this. Okay, so Lenin provided technical knowledge to understand the historical process which eventually led to the growth and development of capitalism on a world scale. So Lenin was of the opinion that since the whole thing cannot be materialist, all right, whereby people who are in need of these resources are the ones given the opportunity to control things, all right, materialists, according to Marxism, all right, then he is now taking us back to imperialism, which is an advanced capitalism. And he's now talking about understanding the historical process, all right, of growth and development of capitalism on a world scale. That is learning for you. Now, let's go straight to what we call modernization theory. Now, when we talk about modernization theory, what are we referring to? Okay, just a moment. Are we together? Okay. Now, speaking of modernization theory, what do we have on that? Wonderful. Thank you very much for that response, Mrs. Regina. Okay, so now let's take a step further. Now, on modernization theory, we want to consider what it means by modernization theory. Now, let's go into the nitty-gritty of things. Modernization itself, all right, should be discussed before we talk about the theory attached to it. When we say modernization, what are we talking about in essence? Bear it in mind that it means the appearance of models, all right, or modes of social life or organization which emerged in Europe from about 17th century upward and which subsequently became more and more, all right, more or less worldwide in their influence. Okay. Now, but in a layman term, when we talk about modernization from the word modern, all right, we are simply referring to a system that has been improved upon over time. A system, all right, that has been improved. It might be a society, might be a system, but the thing is that there has been improvement over time. All right, it refers to the process of transforming a society from what we call a traditional rural or agrarian state into what we call urban or an industrial one. Okay, that is modernization. Let's do that again. It is a process of transforming society from a traditional rural agrarian, that is the agricultural society, agrarian, all right, state into a urban or an industrial one. All right, so you can notice the improvement in the definition. All right, so it's, and there's a transformation, there's a time of transformation and improvement overall. So now let's now talk about the theory itself. Just a moment. Okay, now it says here that modernization theory now refers to the social economic theory. It refers to the social economic theory. Okay, that is also known as development theory. Can also be referred to as development theory. Now, what is this theory about? From the word social economic, from the word development theory, I guess you know where we are heading to already. All right. It highlights the positive role played by developed world in modernizing and facilitating sustainable development in underdeveloped nations. Okay, often constructed with the dependency theory. So now you can see that dependence, you should be able to note that dependency theory and modernization theory are in construct. All right, dependency and modernization theory are in construct. We'll get there soon. So let's focus now on what this is saying. As we have been made to understand that as much as modernization is concerned, all right, it's about the highlighting. Oh, I thought I filled. Okay, let's just use some other marker. Maybe I use that in the other class. Also, this is better. Highlight, okay, the role, the positive role of developed, all right, the positive role played by developed, let's use the word nation, okay, developed word, now let's just use the word developed nation in modernizing and facilitating and facilitating, okay, facilitating sustainable, are we together, development okay in underdeveloped, okay, nations, and we have that as that. Okay, I guess camera covered all of that. I need to be sure of that, please. Okay, I think I need to adjust camera a little bit so you can cover that. Okay, yeah, I think that's better. Okay, so we have that on modernization theory, and this theory is also known as economic theory, also known as development theory. So we have that as that. Now let's proceed. Our time is actually fast spent, but let's just take. I want to finish this before we. Okay, I want to finish this before we go into something else. Now it says here, modernization theory also maintained that this world served to promote the diffusion of liberal democratic, all right, liberal democratical political idea. All right, now in the material, this is, all right, this was used as word. I changed it to nations. All right, so like just what I just read out now, I said MT, which is modernization theory, MT in short. MT maintains that this would serve to promote, all right, diffusion of liberal, all right. It is their responsibility. They are also about promoting, whether it's world or nation, they are intentional about promoting what we call liberal democratic, okay, liberal, democratic political ideas, promote, all right, liberal, democratic political ideas. These nations that are being developed by already developed ones are also encouraged, they are allowed to practice democracy without any interference what the view. Okay, so we have that as data. I think I need to adjust my camera. Aha, I think that's more like it. Okay, now let's take a step further. So, as we have it here, it says that the theory, all right, was basically popularized about in the 1950s. Okay, it was popularized in the 1950s, and it made its imprint on the face of time and reality. All right, so now let's take a step further. So we have the criticism, just like Marxism, neo-Marxist has had its criticism, so does this also has its criticism. So what are the criticism of modernization theory? Now, the modernization all right, the modernization perspective has been criticized for assuming or assumption that development can be on, all right, can be unidirectional and a imitation of the West, especially a unilinear model of development, which is essentially based on the experience. All right. So now, unfortunately, the criticism here is that, unfortunately, the criticism here is that based, all right, based on the fact that the Britain and America, all right, the Britain and America are tenates, tenates of this theory. It focuses its strategy, it focuses, all right, it based assumption on it that based on the tenets of this theory, development, all right, assumption that development can only be unilinear and unidirectional on the imitation of the West. So it's the Western kind of development, not the development that is directly involved with the tradition and ethics of the people. So we have that as that. So here is what we'll call it a wrap for today. And next class, we'll be talking about dependency theory. Like we already mentioned that modernization theory is in contrast, okay, is in contrast with the dependency theory. So let's find out what dependency theory means in our next class by next week. Thank you very much, everyone. I believe we will gain something in this class. Do have a wonderful evening and bye for now.